Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you. It's Tuesday night. It's around 9:15. Where else as a Steelers fan would you rather be? And with me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich, Big Bro Scho. How's it going tonight?
It is going all right. Tonight, the basketball announcing is finally over. Called the last game tonight.
Called the last game was tonight?
Well, not that the last game was tonight, but the last home game for the college's women's team was tonight. They continue in the playoffs this weekend at a neutral site.
At a neutral site. All right, well, I better say something now just in case. I'm sure the live chat will let me know if I'm breaking up at all. For those of you that aren't with us here on the video side, you might not be able to see that I have some hideous curtains behind me right now because I'm on location. I'm away for the week. Still wanting to do the show. I do not have very good internet signal right now. I'm doing the best I can. But hopefully I'm still good. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully I'm not frozen the whole time. If not, you get a whole bunch of Big Bro Scho and a lot less of me, which is probably what everyone is longing for anyway.
Dave, do us a favor. Since your signal could potentially go out at any time, and I see Jeremiah Yoder in the live chat. Thank you.
I'll give you the Chewbacca once. So yes, I'm in a warmer climate this week. I'm enjoying Myrtle Beach. Tomorrow.
When you said where else would you rather be? I considered piping up and saying Myrtle Beach.
yeah. But like I said, tomorrow it's supposed to get like anywhere between half an inch and an inch of rain. It's just supposed to be buckets, but it's been 2 nice days so far. It's supposed to be nice again on Thursday, so I'm going to be happy with it. And I actually did the spring break with my family a week earlier than I did it last year. Last year I was on location with you, but that was right after the start of the legal tampering period, and I was doing all that while on location. And what do you know? It's coming up on 1 year that our podcast got moved over to Fans First Sports Network. And that happened. We didn't know when it was coming. And then we found out while I was on spring break that it was happening. And so that happened. I did all the best that I could to try to help Jeff and Brian out with that. And this week, hopefully, hasn't been as crazy. It's actually been pretty calm when it comes to Steelers news.
Go ahead. We got to do it. Might as well just do it now.
Because I was having internet problems. So what do you do when you're having internet problems and setting up a show? You text your podcast producer. So I do. I sent Bad a text. He's like, I can't help you. I'm at the Pens game. Well, guess what? He's been spotted. $5 in the tip jar. Thank you so much, Tyler W. He said, at the Pens game, the one and only Bad made the dance cam tonight. Our poor eyes.
My gosh. I can only imagine. He was probably doing all those moves Sapphire taught him.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So that's Tyler, that's fantastic. You should hopefully you could maybe see where he was, make your way over to him, say hello. You and I met Tyler before. We did a show from the stadium with Tyler.
Yes, we did.
So that seems like a while ago. What game was that one? I'm trying to remember.
For you and me, it's always easiest to say Titans because you and I've seen them together multiple times.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But
all I know is this. I have to admit, on Saturday, I would say I wasted an hour and 10 minutes that I should have been doing other things to get ready to go on vacation, but it definitely was not a waste. And this was not out on X from what I could see because the video was just too long. I watched a compilation celebration of his birthday of every regular season touchdown pass thrown by Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger. I
Nice.
watched the whole thing, and so many of them was like, I was at that one. Oh, I was at. I mean, even the one to Plexico Burris in 2004 against the Ravens. I'm like, that was the first one I saw. The against the Detroit Lions in the Bumblebees, Antonio Brown running into the corner end zone and doing the points. I'm like, he was pointing at me. All those different things. I remember there was the Thursday night Titans game. Saw once I was there with Rich. The Falcons game. I'm like, oh, I was there with Rich.
Yep.
So lots of good stuff. If you didn't see that, the video, you'd probably have to scroll down a little bit at Steelers.com. But you can catch that at Steelers.com. Benjamin Roethlisberger's and it was regular season because I was looking for playoff ones and they weren't there. Every regular season touchdown pass. It was a glorious. It was an hour between an hour and 5 hour and 10 minutes, and I took it all in and thoroughly enjoyed it.
The similar one to those that I like is the one they did a couple years ago on Troy Polamalu's birthday with all his interceptions. Have you seen that?
That one probably did not take as long. Not that no disrespect to Troy, he had a ton of interceptions.
Yeah,
but
they rolled it out more. It was over half an hour.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of these
around a half an hour.
I mean, I wouldn't. That now has me thinking, and I'm going to be going back and looking at some of these numbers, and who then Roethlisberger threw touchdowns to, and things of that nature. That's just a whole lot of fun. But hey, tonight. We're eventually going to be diving into defensive tackle. Now, the reason we're diving into defensive tackle was I sent Rich a message earlier today. I said, all right, you want to do it defensive tackle? I didn't even give you all the options. I narrowed it down to 2 for you. I said, Do you want defensive tackle or do you want inside linebackers? Which one do you want to do before free agency and which one do you want to save for after free agency begins? You opted to say, let's see what they do at inside linebacker in free agency. So we're going to talk some defensive tackles here in a little bit. But let's talk about free agency. Today was the deadline for franchise tags. Now, I didn't even write an article about it this year. It was so much of a given. There was no way the Steelers needed to franchise anybody. I mean, they didn't even have a starter that was going to be a free agent because they had so many players under contract. Arguably, I mean, I know Mason Rudolph finished the season, but do you really think the Steelers were going to pay Mason Rudolph the quarterback franchise tag? No way. But the bigger news for the Steelers was who did it take away from the potential free agent pool? And a lot of times, if guys are getting the franchise tag, you got to think that means they would have been too expensive in free agency for the Steelers. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I do.
Now, there's rumblings. My goodness, sometimes it's like every single person that's ever cut or ever released or a street free agent or anything of that nature is somehow linked to the Steelers. Not that they could come to the Steelers, which is obviously a possibility, but they have a connection to the Steelers. You know, their brother-in-law once shared a cab with Art Rooney's barber, or something like there's always something crazy to try to, or that 2 players played together in college and now one of those players spent 1 season on the Steelers.
I always like to. Yeah. And Mike Tomlin talked to them at the combine.
He talked to everybody.
I know. That's what I always. That's why I say.
Yeah. So it's just it's one of those things. There was some interesting news today. Like I'm going to mess up. There's so many names of players now being released ahead of the league year for salary cap purposes. I'm ready for the Steelers to do that. There was a report that the Steelers are trying to work out a new deal with Allen Robinson. We talked about wide receivers last week. That it's obvious they can't do the $10 million base salary this year. Well, is it? Yeah, it's all. It's not. I don't know if any of it's a roster bonus or not. I couldn't remember, but it's obvious they're not going to do that. So they are potentially trying to work out something else, working out a different deal to keep him around. I don't know if he wants to stay around. Maybe he does. We'll see if that happens. If not, I could see that being a release by the Steelers. It's not like they have to get under the salary cap before the league year starts. The only reason, if they make moves, they'll probably make corresponding moves. I remember last year when the Steelers signed, I think they signed Cole Holcomb, but they didn't make another roster move. But when they signed to Landon Roberts, that's when they released Miles Jack and saved that money on the salary cap.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that was the order of operations there. I could be off of that, but in essence, that's what happened. Do you think the Steelers cuts before? Let's see before next Monday.
Dave, you're breaking up. Just
am I?
Let you know.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, you might click and Dave is gone. So he's in through. Are you back? Nope. As he was running through some of the breakdowns of, things the Steelers did last year in terms of making their moves and when they were bringing guys in, when they were cutting and go ahead and releasing guys and saving money, they could be doing those same types of things this year. This is what Dave was taking his dear sweet time getting around to. So we don't necessarily have to think that the Steelers, they gotta cut this guy. Now they are going to do something in terms of with Allen Robinson, because once the league year hits, they're not going to carry that salary along. But there are other moves that they could make that they don't have to make right away. So they may not make that move until they have to. Dave, are you back with us?
I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
All right. Yeah. When you froze, I know it wasn't you frozen. I know it was me frozen.
Yep.
So
it was you.
Yes. Oh, trust me. I'm not arguing that fact. So
I think I finished your point, and that was just that the Steelers, if they have guys that it doesn't save them any more to cut them now or later, they may wait and make moves later after they see what they get going on in free agency.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I saw some of the live chat coming up there. People are talking about Deontay Johnson. There was a rumor that said he wants out. The report I heard is that Deontay Johnson is like, I don't want traded. He doesn't want out. I had my article from what we talked about last week of saying, scheme fit. I couldn't. Last week I used the word baloney. I almost used malarkey. Wasn't sure which one I was going to go with. That shouldn't be the reason. But we talked about that last week about if it's anything with him, it's going to be off the field stuff. Here's something to remember and keep in mind. You're like, oh, there could be all these signings coming on Monday. Technically, there can be teams signing between now and Monday when they are street free agents. Still got me? Okay.
Yes.
Street free agents are players that were cut. They were released. They had a contract. They were released. They are free to sign before the league year starts. Just like players that were on practice squads. You can sign them at any time. It's players that become unrestricted free agents technically don't become those free agents till the league year starts. They do let them negotiate for I think it's technically 52 hours because I think it starts at noon on Monday, but not until 4:00 on Wednesday. So if you hear players talking, they're working out a deal with so and so. It's because they are street free agents and they can. For example, a lot of people, as soon as he was cut by Atlanta, the tight end Jonnu Smith, he's Arthur Smith's favorite player ever. He apparently is very close to having a contract done with the Miami Dolphins. So there's going to be a bunch of names thrown out there. I know there was a linebacker for the Dolphins that was cut today that some people think would make sense for the Steelers. There's so many names of players cut today. I'll get the wrong name, so I'm not even going to try. So that's going to be our news coming up. It's anticipating all this stuff that's going to happen on Monday. And Rich, when we're back next Tuesday and I have a flag behind me and not an ugly curtain and hopefully good internet connection, we could be talking about new members of the Pittsburgh Steelers unofficially because they can't sign until Wednesday.
Right. But they could have a deal. They could have a deal done in principle.
Yeah, exactly. which it's very, very interesting to see how that's going to all pan out. I mean, there's so many names out there. There really are.
Yeah, there are.
I'm not
There's
sure what the Steelers are going to do, but I tell you, I think they're going to do something. I'm fairly certain they're going to do something, and they'll do something. I'm even going to say I'm confident they're going to do something significant. I just have no clue what it's going to be. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun. So, Rich, hey, let's go ahead and take a quick break. Although we kind of did while I was frozen. And
no, you took a break.
I took a quick break. We'll take a quick break. Come back, talk defensive tackle. So, if you're with us here live on any of our platforms, stick around. Or we're not going anywhere. And for those of you listening to the audio side, stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back, Steeler fans. No, I am not frozen. Did you think I was frozen, Rich?
No.
That's normally how it would go. You go to do a break and then you freeze. Hey, let's talk defensive line. I think I said defensive tackle before. I call basically every lineman defensive tackles. I know technically the Steelers start a nose tackle, defensive tackle, and defensive end. I don't get that fancy with it. I think for the most part, the players can line up in multiple spots. Nose tackle is the one different monster, but the Steelers, their better nose tackles that they've had recently are also players that can play defensive tackle. So this is an interesting position group to tackle.
You're funny.
Defensively, because you've got an interesting mix. You've got a couple high-priced veterans. You've got several guys on rookie contracts. You've got a couple low-end free agents who are about ready to become free agents. And yet, if you ask me how many players on the defensive line I'm confident in going into next year, my answer is one. You have two? Mine's one because Steelers Nation is getting me convinced. I'm more with two, but to me, I gotta ask. My number one of who I have the most confidence in, that's Keanu Benton, coming off of his rookie season. Let's start with Keanu Benton.
Okay, let's start with Keanu Benton.
Rich, tell me your thoughts on Keanu Benton.
I don't like to anoint people too much before, we get a little more from it. But so let me phrase it in this way. If we continue to get the Keanu Benton and see the production and growth moving forward this coming year and the following year, so through 3 years that I expect we'll see, we got a good one.
Yeah, and my thing is, I don't have to see a huge jump in Keanu Benton next season for him to be a great player.
Yes.
Because I think he was already playing very well at the end of the year. Now, if we see a huge jump, that's great. But
actually, the biggest thing I think we'll see from him is an increase in snaps.
Yes, absolutely. Now, and also, he got the most snaps of any rookie early on because of the injury to Cam Hayward. And yet you can rotate in and get snaps. It's kind of hard on an offensive line to get snaps. You're either playing or you're either out there all the time or you're not. So I think Keanu Benton, I have to keep reminding myself that he's a second-round pick. I keep wanting to make him a third, even though he wasn't, because he was the Steelers' third pick last year because of the 2 seconds. I have a lot of confidence in him. And how many times do we say that we have the most confidence of a position group where you're playing 2 or 3 people at a time on the field, and you're confident in a rookie coming off of that? But we kind of have the same thing with cornerback. We had one real person we were confident in, and it was a Steelers second-round pick from last year. So I want to know if your number 2 is also my number 2. I outlined this a little bit more on StatGeek this past week. I'm not ready to write off Cam Hayward yet.
No, I'm not either.
Because
that's why my number.
That's your number 2. But you have to go into every season now knowing that the end is coming. I mean, think about like a Tyson Alualu. Now he played this past season. He played for Detroit. Long, deep playoff run. Didn't join the team until later in the year. So he's still out there playing, but you're not going to get as many snaps out of him like the Steelers had. Oh my goodness, what was that? Was that he got hurt in 2021 and was really good in 2020, or am I off in my years for him? It doesn't matter. He's not on the Steelers anymore.
Yeah.
But eventually, Father Time is undefeated. So I'm not like a lot of people that are already writing off Cam Hayward. And part of it is they want to write off his contract. Cam Hayward's cap hit this year is only $150,000 more than what it was last year. His cap hit wasn't too big last year. Why is it so big this year? Why is it such an issue that the Steelers, it's the last year of his deal. They can't keep that cap number. I still think they could do something with it. I think you could give him, you could extend him 2 more years, knowing he's not even going to play in those years. Could you do void years? I don't think the Steelers want to do that. They'd rather have him under a base salary that they might never pay him. It would just be working out the details of it. But I laid out the numbers on Thursday that even though Cam Hayward himself did not have very good numbers this past year, the numbers of the Steelers' defense as a team were night and day difference when Cam Hayward was out there versus when he wasn't.
Yes, I agree. He wasn't putting up the big stats. What was Cam Hayward doing the second half of the season when really he was still playing hurt? Okay? Mm-hmm. He anchored the line.
Yeah.
That's it. He anchored the line. Yeah. You want to talk about a true professional. He knew that he wasn't physically going to be able to make the big splash plays, so he anchored the line and let the other guys make the plays around him.
Well, even after having the surgery, he came back really quick from it. He had actually hurt the other groin as well. Had another surgery here in the offseason. I can't say for sure that Cam Hayward is going to be the Cam Hayward we saw in 2022. But I'm not ready to say at all one bit to say that he's not going to be either. And that's why I think it's important to make sure you have plenty of guys in the rotation. And I think everything that he even brings from a leadership standpoint is great. The only thing that would happen with Cam, if Father Time is starting to catch up with him, I think is you decrease his number of snaps. But yes. I still think you can get better play from Cam Hayward this year than you did last year, where he was playing so injured. So I'm ready for more Cam Hayward myself. And like I said, even if the Steelers did nothing with his contract, they would be fine. They handled that much last year. And I mean, what was the number? I even have it here in my notebook. Okay. Cam Hayward's salary cap number went up 0.67% from what it was last year, while the total salary cap went up like 14%.
Right.
So he's counting a lower percentage on the cap. And I know some people are like, well, can you get that production? I'm sometimes there's players that you're like, yeah, I don't know if they can do it anymore. He's not one that I'm not writing him off until he can't, he knows he can't do it anymore. I was the same way with Troy Polamalu.
Yeah, you don't guess at it.
Yeah.
You don't guess and say, oh, we think he's going to be done this year, write him off.
Yeah.
No. I think when you're talking about a player of that caliber, that player will walk out there and we'll see it, we'll know, and more often than not, the player knows as well.
Yeah. And I mean, this was just one of those things that I did for StatGeek is we get this, Steelers fans get this weird thought and narratives in their mind, and they come to them together and they really don't match what's going on. That was what my numbers with Cam Hayward was all about. It was, my goodness, the way that, I mean, just to give a little bit of a recap of it, the Steelers gave up, I don't count Cam Hayward as being there week one. He only played 14 snaps. So that's him of missing, He missed weeks 1 through 8, and the Steelers were giving up 137.1 yards per game on the ground. When he came back the next 3 games, when he was easing in a little bit, played 55, 59, and 60% of the snaps, they dropped that to 105.7 per game. And then the last, 7 weeks, 12 to 18, 97.0 yards per game. So they went from 137.1 with Cam to 99.6 without Cam. And if you're from ranked 27th to ranked 11th.
You got that backwards. You just stated that backwards.
Did I say it? 137 without Cam. Oh, I have it written in the wrong way here. 137 without Cam to 99.6 with Cam. I had it written wrong. My goodness, what's my problem? I might have said that wrong on StatKey. So big, huge difference in the run game with Cam. And some people are like, well, maybe they look at who they went up against run-wise with Cam out. Honestly, they were just about the same. They went against both the Ravens and the Browns once each. They went up against San Francisco. Arizona was the number 4 rushing team in the NFL. They played them with Cam. So it's not even like there was a big discrepancy in who they played. And at the same time, I was, remembering the narrative of, my goodness, starting December, at the very beginning of December, people talked about Kenny Pickett 7-4, Steelers one game out in the loss column to Baltimore for the division and potentially even the number 1 seed. And that's what Steelers fans were talking about. Kenny Pickett gets hurt. Mason Rudolph comes in eventually after Mitch Trubisky completely stinks it up. And people were thinking about how bad Kenny Pickett was. People were talking about Kenny Pickett in his last game before he got hurt about what he was going to do, taking the Steelers, even giving them a potential home playoff game. And then he's hurt, doesn't play another snap, and he suddenly is terrible. And I laid out the numbers and everything with that. Go back and listen to it. We're talking about
you've gotten off topic.
Another defensive tackle.
There you go.
Let's talk about Larry O.
Okay.
Because this is the one that's intriguing. Because he's got the big salary cap number. I don't have the number in front of me because I'm trying not to use up any of my internet space of what he costs right now. But I will tell you this much. He's got 2 years left on his deal, but he definitely did not play to the level of his contract last year. Would you say that?
Yeah, probably. Are you still with me?
Okay, no, I'm still here. So I'm like, so what should the Steelers do? Should they change anything with Larry O? I was listening to Roy Countryman's Black and Gold Blueprint podcast last week, where he was talking about Larry O and about potentially moving on from him. But I don't know if that's the play either.
He could be one of those that makes it into training camp just fine. He's also another one of those, depending on what goes on here over the next several weeks, that the Steelers move on from. Like he really is in limbo.
Yes, he is.
But could potentially be in limbo based on just how things could fall into place. Yeah. Or he could be one of those that it's like, well, we're going to just hold him, keep things where they're at for now. And then as things start to go, say, hey, Larry O, we're going to restructure this or we're going to cut you. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be more of the let's wait and see kind of thing, because you know what you have in him in terms of a veteran player.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, I was so upset when Cam Hayward got hurt at the beginning of the year. Because if you'd have seen the way he and Larry O were working out and the drills they were doing at training camp when I was there, I was really looking forward to seeing the two of them on the line together this year, and it just didn't pan out that way, because even when Cam came back, he wasn't doing the same kind of things that I think they were preparing for as a duo last offseason.
Yeah, and my thing is, I just got an update. It looks like Bad picked a good one to go to, that the Penguins actually won. Hopefully Tyler got to enjoy that as well. Here's the thing. There are times that there would be like 1 or 2 plays a game where Larry O would just crush the guy across from him, fly through the line, make a big stop on a run, do something with the quarterback, something, just this great play. It's just there weren't enough of them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You would generally see him for about one really good play a game. You just need more than one really good play from him. And the big thing with him is he has a roster bonus due early on in the league year. So if the Steelers are going to do anything different with him, they need to make that decision. But that one's just kind of up in the air. If they were getting the production out of Larry O that his contract is giving him, they would be fine on the defensive line, in my opinion. But that's one that's concerning. But he's young enough that it's not like, oh, he's just going to go downhill from here. He could have a much better season this year if the Steelers are ready to stick him out. Now I'm going to group a couple guys together before we go over. We'll finish up things a little bit more rapidly. But the Steelers, I'm going to do two different pairs of guys. Two more guys on rookie contracts, on their rookie deal from coming into the league. In Isaiah Loudermilk and DeMarvin Leal. What do you think about those two guys going into this year?
They could end up with the team where they could go. If they go, it's we got an upgrade.
Yeah, because DeMarvin Leal, he was inactive for how many games? All but one game of the last, including the playoffs. Was it the last 6, including the playoffs? He was inactive for all but one, and the one that he was active, they had Isaiah Loudermilk inactive. It was kind of between the two of them who they're going to go with. And Leal's a former third-round pick. To me, I'm worried that he's Ziggy Hood as a third-round draft pick.
Yeah.
A player that doesn't really fit the 3-4 scheme, but it was drafted by a 3-4 team. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being even a trade candidate with a team that runs a 4-3. Meaning when I say trade, I don't mean now. I mean more of a Kevin Dotson, Kendrick Green time period trade to see how he does. There's no reason to not have these guys in training camp. Also, I don't know that Loudermilk is really done much that would guarantee him a spot on this team on the 53 come September.
No, I don't think either guy has anything there guaranteed.
So that brings another question to go to the next pair, which is a couple guys that are set to become free agents next week, and Montravius Adams and Armon Watts. I'm going to say something that I said before. If you just go by the eye tests, because Cam Hayward struggled so much, Larry O wasn't giving you consistent play. He wasn't getting a bunch of snaps. Armon Watts might have been the second best member of the defensive line last year behind Keanu Benton. And he was inactive the first week as a healthy scratch.
Yes, you can make that argument, yes.
Yeah. So I would like to see him still be in the mix for things. Not that they should go out and pay him a bunch more than what they did last year. I think they should. I'd be okay if they even signed him for a 2-year deal, with same kind of deals that they give to small 2-year deals like they gave to Miles Killebrew 2 years ago, or the kinds that you see for those kind of for a reserve rotational player or a special teams player, that kind of contract.
Right.
Now, what about Adams?
See ya.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be back.
If they signed him, I'd be okay with it. To me, I think he would be more of a later signing.
Yes.
If they bring him back.
He will be okay if we didn't get anything free agent wise or we didn't get anything upgraded somewhere in the draft. and he's still out there on the streets, and you say, "Hey, you want to roll back in? Okay, bring him back in."
Yeah. So beyond those guys, let me tell you who else is on the roster. If I still have it here, hopefully I don't break up. We already said Liao and Benton and Montravius Adams and Cam Hayward, Isaiah Loudermilk. There's Jonathan Marshall, who was on the practice squad last year. There's a futures contract that was to Jacob Slade, rookie out of last year out of Michigan State, and another player who was on IR last year, Reynold Wren, who got hurt in OTAs. Other than that, that's all that they have according to Steelers.com. So I wouldn't. Do you think the Steelers sign any kind of outside free agent on the defensive line?
They could. They could.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do I have my heart set on Mike? Nope. Do the Steelers, do they maybe have somebody out there they're kind of looking at? They could. We'll see.
That, to me, I think believe it or not, you're exactly right. The Steelers, they could make a significant free agent signing on the defensive line, or they could do absolutely nothing.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised either way, or anything in between. I wouldn't be shocked if they draft. I don't want to say day 1 or day 2. Because it could be early day 3. I wouldn't be, because they have 2 fourth-round picks right now. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers add another defensive lineman in round 4 or sooner. That wouldn't surprise me one bit either.
Yeah, no.
So to me, they have a lot of players, but yet none that, to me, outside of Keanu Benton, that you're like, yeah, this is the guy you're sticking around for a long time. And I mean, Cam Hayward's going to be on the team next year. That's just the way it's going to work. I still can't believe there's some people think that he should just be cut because of his salary cap. But outside of that, there is a lot of question marks for how things are going to work, because those other couple young guys on rookie deals haven't been working out, and the other guys are free agents. So it really is one of those, let's see what they kind of do.
Yeah, see what they're going to. I'm guessing they have a plan. It's probably a plan.
This is a hard one to guess what it is. This is one of the harder ones
exactly
to guess.
Because correct, because there's multiple different directions they could go here. So this is another one where it's going to be, in Con we trust. So
Yep, I agree. So anything else you want to say to finish up defensive line?
No, not really. Really covered. I was so surprised we were kind of so on the same page with where the line is at.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it goes there. So, we're getting a little bit feisty in the live chat with some things, but that's kind of what happens with this time of year when we're talking about the change in the roster, that we'll see even more changes by this time next week. So we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. We'll come back, do a little bit of non-Steelers talk, do our big questions. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, here we are. Here we go. Lawrence, I'm going to say you're wrong. You didn't say that before he got hurt and he hadn't taken another snap. You're still wrong. It is what it is. Rich, you got it tonight, don't you?
Yes.
We're getting to the 5-minute non-Steelers talk. I hadn't had you hadn't done it for a little bit. I had done a few. Took one from the live chat last week. So, what are we discussing that's not Steelers or football related tonight?
Okay. So, right about this time, 18 years ago. You with me now? 18 years ago.
18 years ago. Okay.
We were still living in Binghamton, New York.
Uh-huh.
Now, mind you, we were
you getting your family, not me.
My family.
Yes.
Me, Renee, and the 2 kids.
Yes.
Kyle was all of 4 or 5 months old.
Yes.
4 months old, and we were just months away from moving to Williamsburg. But somehow, someway, I don't even remember how it got figured out, but the newspaper in Binghamton, New York, wanted to meet up with Renee and myself and the kids at a local park, and we were featured somewhere. I've still got copies of the newspaper article. Pictures of me and Renee and Kyle and Alex playing on the playground. Why? Because the story was we're about to enter daylight savings time. What do you do with your extra daytime? And our thing, I guess it was one of those things they asked the question on the website. Renee sent in, they decided they liked what she said and they were doing a story on us. And we said we were going around because Binghamton had parks everywhere. And we said we were going to get out since we had, Alex was 4 and Kyle was just a baby. Get outside, enjoy the parks where Alex can play. We could get Kyle, out and about and that. So the question, Dave, is with daylight savings times coming in this weekend, we gain some extra daylight at the end of our day.
Yes.
What do you do with that? What do you do with that time, Dave?
Oh, what do I do at that time? Okay. Now is the time that then the weather starts to get a little bit better. And then the day, you don't have less day. It's not more daylight. You're getting more daylight every day as you go anyway. It's when you have the daylight. I'm ready now for nicer weather, for it to be lighter later, because then I can actually get some outside work done around the house. That's number one. Okay. Pretty soon I'll end up having to start mowing grass. Now I have to clean up a bunch of sticks because I trimmed back my one apple tree to where I probably cut 2/3 of it's laying on the ground right now, and branches from that, because I really needed to do that. But also, I'd love to give Jeff Hartman's answer to see if that could, sneak in some golf here and there. I'll get to that eventually. Probably more as the day gets even longer, just from getting towards the summertime. But my biggest thing is to finally get outside and get some work done. How about you?
Okay, so 2 things, and what you said is one of them. I can start to get outside and get some work done. Why? Because I can get home from work and still have enough daylight left to get out and do something during the week. Like now, I get home, and by the time I get home, get changed, get something to drink, I've got probably 30 minutes tops.
It's not worth your time to get ready, because as soon as you're going, you have to stop.
Correct. But then, of course, for me, the number 2 thing that happens this Sunday is suddenly the switch gets flipped on, and I start thinking, longer evenings means I can now fish.
I had a feeling fishing was coming. With me also, it's always so tough because I pick my youngest son up from school. I get home, I do his homework with him. By that time, now it's not dark already like it would be during the winter. It just wasn't light for very much longer. Now there's enough time to say, hey, let's go ride your bike. Let's go shoot some baskets. Let's go throw some frisbee. Let's go, some of those things. I have to put together a bigger swing set that I have that's even big enough for my teenagers, which is sad because I can say that plural now in just a couple months because my oldest son's about to be a teenager. And just be outside and enjoy it. Have the dog be outside more. Take the dog for walks. Our poor dog doesn't get to walk enough just because of the way our days goes. I mean, we have a little almost indoor track for her to run and get her zoomies out inside. Now we can actually, get her out, get her up the street, get to see my neighbors and talk to them again, because we hit those winter months and we don't ever see them outside.
Because that's funny. That was funny. I was thinking about that this morning. I saw the neighbor coming out across the street. She was taking her trash out because today was trash day. And I was thinking, man, I haven't actually talked to Miss Deb since, the weather was nice back in the fall. I think it was October was the last I've actually talked to her.
Yeah. I mean, other than the occasional, I mean, this year at least a little bit, we got a couple for my area decent snowfall to where when people are out cleaning up their snow or helping neighbors clean up their snow, you talk to them, and sometimes you do it just because you hadn't seen them since trick or treat, because of the weather and everything. So just excited to get back outside, and feel like I can get a little bit done while we're going. I was going to say, where's the alarm? We got 10 seconds left.
All right, so I'm going to wrap it up with a reminder to folks. Please don't forget when you go to bed this Saturday night to move those clocks forward an hour so that you're where you're supposed to be the next day. Oh, that is, of course, unless you live in Arizona or Hawaii,
who don't change their clocks. Right?
Who don't change their clocks, unless you live in Arizona as part of the whatever Indian tribe is out there. Is that Navajo? I don't know.
I can't.
Yeah, whatever it is. They're over three states, so they observe in Arizona, but the rest of Arizona does not. So there you go.
Yeah,
daylight savings time. I'm a fan. Always have been. What?
I'm a fan every time the clock changes. I love it in November when you turn it, when you fall back. I'm like, bring on the dark early when it's wintertime. The Christmas lights are on sooner. You have more time to go see those. I like it. The worst part is January and more even February, when it's still dark early. Then I'm ready to change it back, make it light later. Good question. That's a good way to put it. So, Rich, now we got to get to our big question. And I'll be honest with you, I was so worried about getting my internet and everything set up. I didn't think of how I was going to phrase it tonight, unless you already had a good phrasing of what we were going to do for a D-line question. I can kind of try to make it up here on the fly.
I vote we have a D-line.
You vote we have a D-line. Okay. Let me see here, because I don't want to get it. Like a lot of times we were like, all right, where's the third wide receiver? The third corner, the second cornerback. Questions like that when we would get to these positions. With the D-line, I don't know that it has to be spelled out that much more.
I don't think it does either.
I'm going to give you three options. I'm going to see if I can phrase this the right way without having to put not putting thought into it before we hit go live for this show. And the three different things are: do you think the Steelers will add a significant piece to the D line in free agency, in the draft, or by rolling with what they got?
Okay. I have a feeling they're going to draft. Don't ask me why. Other than just, I don't know, maybe it's because I actually watched the D linemen at the combine a little bit. Yes, I watched about, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours of combine this weekend.
That's an hour and a half and 2 hours more than I did.
Yep. So it was basically just because I was scrolling through on the TV and there was absolutely crap on and couldn't find anything. Especially on Sunday because I wasn't feeling well, and so then just have there's the combine. Oh, let me watch. So, I just have a feeling they may go try to pick up another piece in the draft again this year. Wouldn't surprise me.
I am not going to be shocked if the Steelers make a bigger defensive line signing than what some may believe. I think there's options out there. I don't know that they're going to overpay. It might be for a bigger name than maybe for even a bigger salary, or it might be a bigger salary of a name that we might not all be all that familiar with. So the options are, I just put it out there, just asking the questions. I said, how will the D-line roll? Do you think they're going to make a significant add in free agency? Do you think they're going to make a significant add in the draft? Or do you think they're just going to roll pretty much with what they had from last year? So let's see what we got out there. We've got acting forward, jumping right in, saying draft. Going with you. They might add a significant D-line piece in the draft again, because they need to get younger, even because some of their other younger pieces haven't really stepped up in Liao and Loudermilk. They got to continue to keep going to get younger. Okay, Gavin Anthony says draft. Steel Dog 88 says draft in the second round. Okay, Gabriel Golden, I'll even take this answer. He says double down, free agent plus draft to really try to do stuff with that. And honestly, I think how they view Larry O going into next year, if what they're going to do there is going to depend on how much they have to do. Yeah. Okay. Steelers Pittsburgh says both draft and free agency. John Walter saying draft. John Stevens says free agent and draft. Nobody's saying just roll with it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do just roll with it, though. I don't think fans want them to, but we know that there's probably as much of a chance that that's what they'll do as well.
There's more of a chance at that than what most people think. Put it that way. I don't know if it outweighs either of the other two options, but there's probably more of a percentage that they could just roll with it than what most people would admit to.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. All right. So the next one is, I'm going to see if I'll mess this up. Jen Atalia. I think I messed it up before. Let me know if I got that right. Says free agent.
Sure, I think you messed it up.
Why? What is it then?
Italia.
Oh, it might be that. That's probably better. Rob Pitoff says free agency. Okay. Wes, haven't seen Wes for a while. Good to see you back here, Wes.
Good to see you, Wes.
Yep. He says significant free agent. Hey, if they're going to do one, do one.
Yeah.
Okay. State of the Steelers, Daniel J. He says free agent. That's the way to go.
How you doing, Daniel J?
Okay. Mr. Woodside says draft, second or third, and that they'll add a free agent. Chances are, like we said, if you're doing both, it might not be the biggest name free agent, or if it is, you might not see Mr. Ogunjobi anymore.
Right.
Lawrence, then now you're making up dumb stuff about Cam Hayward. Go back and watch the beginning of the show. Gavin Anthony says, I want to get a nose tackle in the fourth. Okay. Ruben Stone says draft. Okay. Afton that says because of Waddle is why they think they might draft the guy. I'm still ready for them to unless they do something in free agency to take this away, I still want to see two of the top three picks go into the offensive line. That's just what I'd like to see this year. But I want to see that all the time. Sherry Richards says probably draft. John Walter says better chance they roll than sign a splash free agent. If you're going statistically odds, you're probably correct. Let's see. I'm going to bring this up just because I can. Marky D, Steelers Nation Australia, says the DL will get a 90% pass rush win rate. Gotta love that made up stat there, Marky D. Sorry, I missed Demetrius. Thank you.
Yes.
Says I missed it because of the first part of his comment. Says I have no idea what the Steelers will do, but hope they get a free agent and draft one. I can see it. See, it's just so tough when the Steelers, they've got 5 picks in the first 4 rounds, but 2 of them are fourth rounders. It's not like they have a higher one like second round like they did last year. And I got to ask, can they do everything that they need right now? That's why they got to have a good free agent period.
Right.
I'm
going to bring this comment up. Good, Wes. Yeah, we kind of touched on this just a little bit. Dave, under Colbert, I guess we'd roll with it. Under Khan, not so sure anymore.
That's a really good point.
It's an excellent
point
because what we discovered under Khan last offseason was that he was not as predictable.
Yeah.
Now, he could end up being like we could end up, but it will, it's hard to establish a pattern with somebody after one time through. You need more information to try to establish a pattern. We might, after this offseason, be able to establish more of a pattern with the type of things Omar Khan likes to do. Right now, it's not there. So it is still very difficult to predict what he might do because there is no pattern that we can really discern yet.
Yeah. And to me, if you're going to bring in a free agent, look at the length of the deal. I know some people, the guy from Miami, he's going to get a lot of money. He's going to get a lot of money. I'd love for the Steelers to get him, but he's going to get a lot of money. If you bring in a free agent that like that or somebody else, and it's a significant 3-year deal, then you might not have to go very high in the draft. If you don't really see a signing like that in free agency, then I think you're going to see another defensive lineman in the first 4 rounds, maybe even high again of around 2 or round 3, because the whole Cam Hayward getting up there thing. Not that I think Cam Hayward, we already talked about at the beginning. We don't think that it's time to write off Cam Hayward yet, but to not plan on him not being there, I just used the double negative. I might have even said that wrong. If you're not planning on Cam having to eventually be moving on to his life's work, then you're going to be in trouble. That's what happened with the Steelers' offensive line. Pouncey stopped sooner than they expected. The Castro stopped sooner than what they expected. I mean, my goodness, that was in the offseason. I mean, that was during OTAs. And therefore, they didn't have that answer yet, because the better way to have it is to draft it a year or two before you absolutely have to have it. And they didn't have that luxury there, but you have to look at that with Cam Hayward and say that you would have it now. Now, if you're going to get someone in free agency that's going to be around for several years, that's under 30, and you're signing them up for 3 years, that could be a whole different story. Otherwise, you've got to make sure that you're replenishing through the draft. I mean, some might argue that Keanu Benton was that last year. To me, Keanu Benton, that's still the Steelers trying to still scramble and send stuff onto it. And Larry O drafted high with Benton. But I think they did a good one there. I really think they did. But I'm not 100% sure that just Benton alone would be enough for Cam Hayward to then go on to his life's work sooner than later. They would still need more. So that's why I say you want to have Keanu Benton playing with Cam Hayward, not in place of. Yet. So
correct.
All right. Rich, I think that's all that we had there with the in the live chat. One thing I do want to bring up, want to give a shout out, even though he wasn't a Steelers fan. You lost someone that was one of your great friends.
Yeah.
In college. This past week, he had a lot of health issues his whole life. But not only that, he was 2 years older than you.
Yes.
Which meant he was 6 years older than me. And yet he was one of the nicest, caring guys to me when you were in college and when you were first out of college. So just want to give a shout out to Big E. Rest in peace, my friend. I hadn't seen you for a number of years, but he was always any chance he could with that. Like, he congratulated me on my book, things of that nature. Just wanted to bring that up. So sorry to bring that up before I ask for your closing thoughts, Rich.
No, that's all right. Just he and I always remember Big E, because he and I, my freshman year of college, he went on spring break with me. We went down to Florida for a week, spent the weekend with my grandparents, and played golf. Yeah. And I can rest well now, at least knowing he's up there. Pap will look after him and help him find his golf ball. Yeah. Part of Eric's issue, he had very poor vision. So when we're playing golf, he'd hit the ball, but he never knew where it was.
He didn't know where it was.
he couldn't see far enough to know where it landed. So we'd have to guide him towards his golf ball. We'll miss him, but we'll leave that go. All right. Is it over to me to wrap up?
It is ready for
Okay.
you to wrap it up now, bro.
Good. I got a real quick one. Okay. This is going to be a real quick wrap up night because it's simple and it's easy. Okay. This time next week during our show, the NFL is going to be in the legal tampering period. Can't wait.
Can't wait.